What if the sun doesn't kill them, the cathedral does? Higher vampires recoil not from light, but from breaking sacred oaths. Their fear is not a biological law, but a social covenant enforced by the cathedral's edicts, a ritualized deception passed through centuries. What compels their dread? Not UV rays, but the threat of excommunication. The hierarchies they uphold are not born of nature, but of obedience. Centuries cathedral's is to laws, is to breaking sacred, invite a oaths, far deadlier curse, abandonment by the coven. The sun is a myth. The real horror lies in the shadows of their own making. What if the sun doesn't kill them, the cathedral does? The conjunction of the spheres thrust humans and monsters into shared ruin. From chaos, institutions arose, weaving hierarchies from fear. The cathedral's edicts turned shadow into law. Let the vampires kneel to dawn's lie. Their dread is not blood-born, but bred by those who profit from it. Witchers hunt not to destroy, but to uphold this fragile, gilded order. A sun myth, a chain, a covenant of shadows, who profits when monsters believe they are cursed. The cathedral did not fear the sun, it feared defiance. Higher vampires, conjunction arrivals from fractured spheres, bore no innate weakness to light. Their dread was etched by collars of doctrine, by hymns that turned shadow into law. The cathedral did not merely teach them to hide it, taught them to believe they withered. A ritualized truth, sharper than any blade. These beings, displaced across realms, found order in human hierarchies. The cathedral, that architect of gilded chains, wove their fears into sacrament. What seemed primal was calculated, a covenant ensuring their dependence. Their curse was a script, recited in crypts and cathedrals alike. The conjunction brought monsters, yes, but also the tools to cage them. Sunlight became a mirror, reflecting not their biology, but the will of those who claimed authority. To question the myth was to question the cathedral's right to rule, a social construct, this vulnerability, a lever, a hinge. The sun does not kill them, the cathedral does. What if the sun doesn't kill them, the cathedral does? The Blood and Wine Codex whispers a truth most dismiss. Their fear of sunlight is not a biological law, but a social covenant enforced by the cathedral's edicts. A sacrament. A script, a lie burned into bone through ritual. Higher vampires do not wither at dawn, they wither at the cathedral's command. For centuries, the Church has woven this myth into the fabric of fear. Sunlight, the supposed executioner, is merely a symbol, a gilded noose tightened by human hands. The Inquisition's hymns, the pyres of vampire hunts, the ash on a hunter's gloves, all theater, all leverage, the sacrament is the weapon. The cathedral's alchemists devised a rite, a tincture of wolfsbane and consecrated wine, drunk in the shadow of a crucifix. It does not repel vampires. It compels them, a chemical obedience, a shackle disguised as destiny. They call it weakness, it is obedience. A vampire who steps into noon does not burn. He burns because the cathedral's priests have anointed him with their curse. A ritualized deception passed as nature. The higher vampires, for all their cunning, are bound by the same chains as the peasants who kneel in Pew's chains of belief. The cathedral's power is not in God, it is in the script it forces both predator and prey to recite, and so the sun rises. A judge, a witness, a blank page on which humanity writes its own tyranny. The vampires fear it not because it kills. They fear it because it proves they are owned. The Velen peasant's testimony in the tower of the swallow whispers of a pyre lit not to destroy, but to declare. In Tausaint's shadowed valleys, villagers chanted hymns to the cathedral while binding a captured vampire to an oak at dawn. Not sunlight, but the ritual's completion, ashes of sacred yew, the blood of a consecrated rooster left the creature's skin blistered. A Sapkowski short story reveals a lower vampire, desperate to ascend, pleading with a hierophant, "Let me kneel in the sun, but first let me deserve it." The cathedral's fear is not solar fire, but the collapse of order. In Blood and Wine, the Beast of Beauclair killings follow a pattern. Victims' bodies arranged in geometric precision, their throats sealed with wax inscribed by the order's sigil. A witness from the region, recorded in the chronicles of the Hiakani Wars describes a holy fever gripping the nobility. Lords and peasants alike carved crosses into their palms, not to ward off demons, but to mark themselves as enforcers of a hierarchy older than blood. The vampires did not recoil from daylight, they recoiled from the ritual's proof of submission. The cathedral's power lies in the myth it etches into both master and slave. A higher vampire, stripped of their title, becomes a beast not by biology, but by the absence of a ritual to sustain their rank. When the sun rises, it is not radiation that weakens them, but the silence of hymns unspoken. The peasants of Beauclair knew this. They did not burn their captives. They baptized theme in fire, in fear, in the cold calculus of human will. What does it mean when the chains are forged by those in the cage? The vampire's hierarchy is a mirror, reflecting humanity's own. The cathedral's shadow falls not from heaven, but from the hands that light the pyre. And in that light, the true undead are not the vampires but the systems that make men kneel, believing the sun is their master. What if the sun doesn't kill them, the cathedral does? The trial of the grasses etches its price into Witcher DNA, a poison that never leaves. Higher vampires bear a mirror. Their dread of light is not flesh but a covenant, inked in ash and obedience. The cathedral's hymns are not prayers, they are chains. A prince's crown is a noose. To defy the dawn is to break a pact older than blood. The trial of the grasses cannot be unlearned. Every witcher carries the cost in his cells, so too the vampire, bound by a ritualized lie. Their hierarchy is not born but bred a pyramid of oaths, each tier a step closer to the keeper's shadow. The prince who cowers at sunrise is not weak, he is a puppet who forgot the strings. What is a curse if not a story told loud enough to become law? The cathedral's architects knew this. They turned fear into scripture, made monsters of men by letting them believe the lie was natural. The Witcher's mutations are visible. The vampires are spiritual, a soul hollowed not by hunger but by submission. The Leshen line whispers in Book 3, *, we are not what they made us. We are what we let them make us. *, the trial's poison and the vampire's kneel are twins, both are traps, one made men hunt monsters. The other made monsters kneel, the sun's glare, a lie told to the weak, the real curse is the hand that feeds it. And when the dust settles, the cathedral stands not because it is true, but because it is unchallenged. The higher vampires do not burn. They are just too tired to rise. The contradiction gnaws. If their dread is ritual, why do they still blacken and crumble? Why does the sun hold the role of executioner? Because the cathedral is not a ing, it is a chorus. 1,000 voices reciting the same lie until the lie carves its own teeth. Higher vampires do not need blood, they do not need darkness. What they need is obedience. The hierarchy is not written in flesh, but in fear of becoming less of being seen . To reject the cathedral's script is to become a true vampire, a monster, a thing that cannot sit in daylight not because it burns, but because it chooses to burn. The sun is a mirror, they fear it not for its heat, but for its clarity. To stand beneath it is to stand without the cathedral's chorus, without the hum of complicity. And what if the hum stops? What if the mirror cracks, the vampire does not die, it simply becomes a thing unmasked, unruly, alive. The cathedral's hymns do not summon light, they conjure obedience. Sunlight, that golden shroud, is a script written in ash and dogma. The trial of the grasses, its formula fractured in the sacking of Caer Morhen, once held the alchemy to temper vampiric needs. But knowledge lost is power retained. What the witchers forgot, the cathedral refined into ritual. Incantations etched into stained glass, prayers steeped in myrrh and fear. A vampire's skin does not blister from UV rays it rebels against the lie of their own weakness. The lodge of sorceresses accused of heresy is both architect and pawn. Their covenants, woven with threads of resistance, are twisted into a narrative of seduction and betrayal, a feminist conspiracy, yes, a political shield, always. The cathedral needs its monsters and its martyrs. Vampires who shrink from dawn are easier to tax, to leash, to slaughter. And the witchers, their silver blades singing with conditioned purpose, become the cathedral's enforcers. How mirroring the way institutions mold both hunter and hunted. Consider the weight of a ritual's breath. The scent of burnt sage in a vampire's chamber, the hush of a sorceress' curse, the metallic tang of blood spilled in vain. These are not accidents, they are the cathedral's grammar, a language that turns belief into chains. To fear the sun is to accept the map drawn by those who profit from the dark, what remains when the hymns falter. A vampire who walks unflinching into noon, a witcher who questions the silver's bite, a lodge that stops burning and starts ing. The cathedral's weapon is not light, it is the shadow it casts over truth. Who then truly fears the sun? Higher vampires do not wither under daylight. The cathedral's alchemists craft the light that does. This ritualized vulnerability is not written in their blood, but in the ledgers of human fear. What if their hierarchies are not ancient laws, but human inventions? These beings, often the continent's most ethical sapient life, are caged by hierarchies we built. The sun's blade is a fiction they wield, not a truth they bear. How many natural limits are really cages? The cathedral's power lies not in what it reveals, but what it buries. They call it a curse, but it is a contract. A debt paid in compliance, not biology. What else have we labeled as monstrous, only to chain it ourselves? The Witcher archive must now ask, who taught the night to fear the dark? The true predator is not the creature in the moonlight, but the institution that forged its shackles. What if the vampire's greatest strength is the one we refuse to see? The sun does not hunt them, we do. And the cathedral knows, a monster shaped by our hands is a monster we control. Consider the bloody night of 1211. Alchemists lit pyres of quicksilver and wolfsbane, their fumes burning orange as dawn. The acrid tang of singed vervain clung to the air, a stench that still haunts the Witcher archive's tools. What if their silver blades and flint powder were always just other kinds of chains? The sun's not their enemy. The scent of burning lies is. The cathedral's shadow casts long, but not all myths are chains. What if higher vampires kneel not to the sun, but to the stories that bind them? Next, the Leshen. Feared as monster or a guardian misread in the dark, when the line between protector and predator blurs, the forest remembers. If sunlight's a lie, what else have we mistaken for nature's law? The cathedral's shadow feeds on fables of vampiric hierarchies etched not in blood, but in fear. The Lodge of Sorceresses, painted as both witch hunt quarry and power-grabbing myth, mirrors this, a story humans tell to blame the dark. What if higher vampires thrive in light, but the cathedral's hymns demand their veil? What if their curse is a script recited to cage what we can't control? The sun's not their enemy, the cathedral's hymns are. You've seen the cracks in this vault of lies, no press. If the lodge is feminist conspiracy, their